Okay, so thank you for joining. This is Grafana UX Community Call. It's September the 7th, Labor Day and afternoon, and probably only for a handful of people's normal working hours, but thank you everyone who joined. It's a community call, so it's mostly about discussion, but we need to just put few things on slides so everybody knows what's the framework for doing the community calls. So we meet on the first Monday on every month, and sometimes it's a Labor Day, like today. We want community to drive the discussion, so Himanshu, please, if you'd like to ask any questions, do so. We are here for you. Even if you are only person from the outside community here, it is really important that we have you. And each meeting is has like a different theme or different topic. And this time, the Wheel of Opinions selected that we are discussing Grafana on mobile and in narrow viewports. So. Yes, this is exactly a topic that probably is very opinionated inside Grafana as well. So we are really eager to hear also from you. What do you think about Grafana on mobile and how it works for you in terms of like responsive web design? Some URLs. The meeting URL, you probably know that because you are here, but please remember that you can edit and review the public documents. The link is also available in the Zoom chat right now. The video will be recorded or is recording, and the recording will be available as a link in the document as well. And of course, you can subscribe to the calendar to have all the monthly UX community calls all the time at your schedule. Here is a little glitch inside Google Docs that I've been struggling with for the last 20 minutes. So it's like doubling down of the image that is there. One of the images is there, but it isn't there. So I don't know what happened, but this is why we have this like a drop shadow of the UX team currently working at Grafana Labs. You can feel free to reach us whenever you feel is relevant, and you can talk to us using especially like Slack or just mailing us or finding us on a social media. And we are hiring, so if you want to be part of Grafana Labs as a designer, or you know someone who should be, please find the link to the UX UI designer job offer. Or to other roles. We are also looking for product managers and of course engineers and support people and go-to-market team members. But without further ado, today we are discussing Grafana on mobile and in narrow viewports, which it's a bit of a clumsy way to say that, but I haven't found any other sentence that like makes it more nice or easy to read or more interesting. So it's like narrow viewports, but I hopefully everyone knows what hides behind those two words. So the first question actually is, do you ever use Grafana on mobile? And of course I'm asking everyone from the community and also like Grafanistas, if you want to share with us, do you do that? And if you do you remember the use cases when you use Grafana on mobile? And you can also write that in chat if you cannot turn on your mic, because I often don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't use it, it's also okay, and it would be nice to know whether you don't use it for some particular reason, or you just don't have a use for it.
I personally don't use it, but some customers who I talked to, one was a company and they use it for their SRE on calls to just briefly check whether everything is in order. Unless, you know, like mainly when they don't get paid, just to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep soon. Let me check again whether everything is fine. Kind of that like quick look at a panel to get some information type of deal. And then the other case was when I was at Hacktoberfest last year. There were just some Grafana enthusiasts, and they use it to monitor, I don't know, their private projects, like their smart home or their weather station or that type of stuff. And then they would, when they are outside of their house, they would just check on their stats on mobile. So from what I've heard, the main cases are just getting an overview when you don't have your computer at easy access.
And in the meantime, Sriam, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's okay. My name is Łukasz, and almost no one from outside of Poland pronounces that correctly. So I think we are like destined to make that mistake. So hopefully I'm not like hurting your feelings. But Sriram wrote as well that my support team used regularly during out of office hours, mostly a single dashboard with some KPIs is with a single stat. So yeah, the question probably like a follow-up question is that like for just checking what's up, or is it for doing some incident management or responding to some things that happen in terms of like alerts or outages, or is it just like knowing what's happening in general as probably just described as well?
Hi Lucas, hope you can hear me.
Yeah, hi.
So it's mostly support team guys used to receive alerts on their Slack channels, and immediately they jump into Grafana to get some quick overview of what the numbers and why the drop is. Then they will escalate it to the support team, the second level support team for further analysis. So basically it's for quick overview to get what is going on. Sometimes Grafana might throw false alerts due to incorrect thresholds, right? So we want to quickly validate so that this will be pretty much useful on the mobile.
Yeah, so that's really cool. Do you know, are there like any struggles when using the Grafana on mobile? So what's not working, for example, for the team?
Yeah, the thing is, when the users try to load the graphs, it won't be that much nice. So what we did is we tried to optimize the KPI dashboards in such a way that only it shows single stats, what that matters when they are commuting or when they are in hotel, like that. So only the single stats we are using, because the other panels, they are very content rich, so they might not be fit into the mobile. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's really like interesting, because my next slide is when it loads. Yeah, so this is like the auto layout feature. So did you use the auto layout feature? Did you had an opportunity to use that with the 7.0?
No, currently we are running with 6.
Maybe you need to switch your video off.
Yeah, I think we lost you.
Hello.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah. So we are running with 6.x. So it's the auto layout might not really work with this. So we are planning to upgrade to 7 next week or so. So I will give you some feedback.
Yeah, because like auto layout helps with that a lot, like to just make Grafana dashboards nicer on.
Most of our KPI dashboards are with the legacy stats, single stats. So by default, the mobile view, they are responsive. We are still yet to use the new stat panels. That will be pretty much useful.
And do you think like it's a struggle, and I will like right now just like write on the screen, do you think it's a struggle that we have this navigation up here and not as probably most mobile apps or most mobile applications that we just have navigation at the bottom? Or what are all of your thoughts on that?
No, we don't had that issue because users used to bookmark the dashboards which they want in their home panel. So directly they will be launching what they need instead of going to Grafana and navigating. So they have the extra shortcuts created. So that's doing their job.
Okay, so there. Yeah, now I need to like clear my drawings. So there's actually like using just the view in the middle or the specific panel.
Yeah, the view in the middle.
Yeah, because yeah, there's a lot of discussion also happening. Maybe you other people or Grafanists heard that as well. That a lot of people are creating this health dashboards or a general overview of dashboards with their Grafana as just a quick glimpse of what is happening and is it even worth to check the dashboard. So the question is how important that workflow or use case is for mobile, and is that something that can happen the most often on the mobile devices?
Okay, so the challenge we had is we use single stat, but it would be nice if we can fit many single stats. Say, for example, if we fit 10 single stats into a mobile viewport, that would be awesome. Currently, it's just showing only 2 or 3 single stats, so they have to scroll through everything, something like that. They have those challenges.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Anyone else has thoughts on that? Like follow up to Sriram or?
I don't have a follow-up for him, but I do have another use case, and it's not exactly mobile, it's narrow viewports. And I've seen it live when people use a 4K monitor, which is a very wide monitor at the same time, and they are choosing to have the browser where they have Grafana in, let's say, a quarter of the screen. And there are a lot of dashboards that even if because the browser gets resized and say you have some panels on 3 columns. That's one example. Or some legends that are quite wide compared to the actual graph. And in the resizing of that, it's very hard to distinguish any other information. And it still doesn't fall yet into tablet or mobile viewport and auto layout on some of them doesn't solve it yet.
Yeah, I found that that struggle, let's say, when I was once working with a dashboard and open it in a narrow view bar, but on the vertical scale, let's say. So everything like was squished, and I was wondering how often that might happen as well for the other people. Have you ever heard about using Grafana in such way, or I was just like really weird with doing this, like having my browser window really small on the vertical size?
Not necessarily this small, but yeah, smaller than normal, I would say so. I don't know, 500, 600 pixel height compared to the rest of the screen. Yeah, definitely. I've seen a lot of people using it like that.
Yeah, and that is interesting because I often hear that when we are discussing responsiveness or mobile Grafana, there's like a voice that, oh, like showing panels or showing stats on mobile, this sounds reasonable and we can find out many use cases for that, but for sure people are not editing panels or using like more advanced features as with, let's say, as with like editing panels. And this is why probably there's a lot of work ahead of us to think about those screens. So what are your thoughts on that? Should that editing be responsive as well? And should we think about it more?
I think here we can actually, based on some data, if we have some information about browser and device use, like that's the only way to go, and to have some quantitative knowledge about the use cases. I would start as an MVP with having dashboards that work and the menu that works right now, even if it's responsive, because Grafana is part of it responsive. We have some issues with the menu. Like if we fix that and start from there. As for panels, we can definitely have those responsive, but in time, just like to pace out the work. And they could be. I'm not sure about overrides or anything, but the most used thing we can, like we need to decide what are the most used feature in Grafana and go from there. Maybe another thing that I'm thinking could be helpful is the team access. Like you have admin access on Grafana, or you have an edit level and you're away and you have to give that permission to somebody else to do changes, right? And that's another possibility for you to check out from your phone or from your tablet and to give permission to somebody. On their own, forms being responsive is not that hard to achieve.
That's maybe a challenging question, but if our dashboards are so hard to edit on mobile or in narrow screens, will that just be like the small number of people using that will be not a proof that people don't need that, but a proof that it is really hard to do? Because yeah, we can then interpret such analytics like both ways.
I think there are a couple of things here. So when I interviewed our users about managing dashboards and fixing broken dashboards, they were saying that they don't have a process around it. So until someone complains, it's often, and unless it's a heavily used dashboard, it can be broken for quite a long time. And all the stuff that we're working on with analytics is to help people identify broken dashboards. So it's hard for me, it's a hypothesis at this point, but based on those interviews, it's hard for me to imagine that someone will be trying to fix panels on mobile. Given that they usually do it in front of a big screen, and it's kind of only when they know it's actually broken. The other thing is that what we know from interviews for alerting is that a very heavy use case is when people are on call. So basically they open Grafana, especially when it's in the middle of the night. So people were telling me that if I get an alert in the middle of the night, I just want to check the graph to see whether I need to get up or can it wait till morning. So I think that in this use case, being able to see what's most crucial very well and being able to maybe zoom those graphs in is what's important.
Mm-hmm. That also mirrors my experience, where either everything's on fire and I really need to have this quickly, or I'm in total leisure and just traveling or not even caring to log in. But in no case would I be really trying to edit anything. It's more about consumption of something which already exists. Or if everything is absolutely on fire, explore mode. But explore mode doesn't mean we need to provide a way to do super intricate changes for that one panel with all options. It's just everything is on fire. I need to make it not on fire, and I need data to help me do this.
Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes it gets really tricky to put that boundary between what mobile means and what is actually that narrow screen, because as Oana mentioned, sometimes and I don't know if that's the case because I haven't seen that as something that people do. But I can imagine that when someone is on fire, or there's a hugely important dashboard for the whole company that it got broken by some edits, and you need to check like different data sources and all of that stuff, you can have like a lot of windows open as well. And then Grafana, the edit panel for Grafana might be that really small, narrow screen on your very, very big dual or quadruple screen setup. And it will not be mobile, but it will be a small screen. And you would like to like edit there and see like and do it more comfortably, or just see the things there.
Well, on that use case, I like, if you are at least on your TV screen or on your 4K monitor, on dual monitor, in that case, I think you'll just make it full screen and start working on it, and then revert back to its original size. So for panels, it's rather the mobile approach, and if we can support that or not, or if we should, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I talked to external about this, but the main complaint that I got from users last year was that they are editing dashboards when they don't want to edit them. So basically on Android, sometimes when you are trying to scroll, you end up dragging and dropping a panel. And they were like, yeah, I don't want to edit this at all. Can I lock this? You know, so basically they were trying to take away functionality that was there when they didn't expect it to happen. So it didn't seem like they were looking for editing functionality, more like a more convenient viewing experience.
But the hugely interesting thing is that Explore panel, as Richie mentioned, because, but I don't know if I got it right. It was that Explore is somehow relevant for the mobile use case as something you can quickly just type stuff. Yeah, and I was thinking that like there are more and more pretty sophisticated things that can be done on mobile with shortcuts, with Airtables, Notions, and stuff like that. There are more apps that connect those complicated queries or workflows into like pretty usable interfaces. So maybe at least Explorer should be as such. Do you think it is possible or relevant, or should we even think about it?
So Richie is eating, but it seems like he agrees.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I guess thinking about this, the main challenge with Explore would be restructuring the view, because the query editors are basically big forms. And when you make a form responsive, then it takes up a lot of real estate. And the question would be, how do you bring a complex query editor together with a graph on such a small screen without it being really hard to manage and even understand, okay, where does my query stop? And is this graph for this query or for, you know, like just getting an overview of everything that's happening? I feel like that might be the main challenge. Any opinions on that?
I think that at some point you have like you have this baseline complexity in Explore, and you can't not have it because it's there, and it's not complexity which is just there to be pretty or anything. It's actually real complexity. And if you're on mobile, you're miserable anyway, if you're on mobile and on call. So it's more about not making it needlessly painful and not breaking something for this use case by mistake. And at least to me, not so much about making it a nice experience, because to me, it will always be a bad experience if I have this tiny of a device and need to do 10 different things at once. Like it will be horrible. So it's more about not making it more horrible and not about making it good, because it will never be good.
I'm always thinking as well, aren't we like too old for that mobile discussion, because when I sometimes see what young people are doing with those small screens and what magic they can produce with such things, I cannot do it even on my big screen, and not to mention like a phone with like less features and no like pointer and all that features packed into such a small real estate. So yeah, I think we are like putting the average for how old we are like higher than so like what's there for the next generations. We should think about them as well. But I don't know how many young developers are there who are struggling with incident responses on a daily basis and using the mobile only for that. There's also one thing I've been. It seems like thanks to the auto layout feature, and because how nice the Grafana dashboards are right now, and how good looking are the graphs, and it's not bragging, it's like things that we hear from our users and customers as well. What makes the graphs like nice on mobile? That's the question. Or how far are we from saying that our panels are beautifully looking on mobiles as well? So what's stopping them from being beautiful on the mobile screen and deciding that, oh, we are ready to say that we have a mobile panels or nicely looking mobile panels? Because those screenshots are not that beautiful, but they could be. So what's stopping them from being like beautiful a panel on a mobile screen?
I mean, beauty is a different property because it's subjective. But
True.
I think what makes Grafana dashboards purposeful is probably the ability to compare things. And I guess the main limitation of mobile is that currently we're just stretching out panels so much that it gets hard, if not impossible, to compare things. That's probably why Sriram also just uses single stats most of the time, because then you can use the real estate better and compare stuff more easily. So I guess the big challenge would be how to make panels small enough to fit a lot of them on one viewport, but also make them comparable.
Yeah, that comparability, I think it's a really good point. But there are also like those cases where you just want to have one data point, like the single stat. So do you believe like internally, can we say that they're okay for mobile experience, let's say?
I don't think we are the ones to answer. Like, I mean, it's great to have things that are beautiful, and I'm all for it. But I think that we should aim for making this usable and actionable and easy to read as a first thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't that? Yeah, sorry.
We are looking at panels. Sorry, at bar gauges, and I don't think we, like a lot of users, use the bar gauges because they tend to not be very useful for a lot of operational data. For this, for example, you can already see you can't see the labels, and you can't really click on anything to see the labels, and you don't have a good solution for the labels. Maybe you can write upwards, but I don't think we should be optimizing with bar gauges. We should be looking at spark lines, at single stat or stat, at graphs and such, because those will be the ones which are used. Or this hex overview is often used as kind of what's green, what's red. And also when we talk about mobile, and that's in my tying back to when you said earlier, it's always about the narrow screen. I don't really fully agree. Of course, you can take your mobile and you can do like this. And
Yep.
for example, if I would be looking at a graph, I would be looking at my mobile horizontally, not vertically.
Mm-hmm. So is that like the type of panel as well dictates how well it will perform on mobile? Seems that that is the case. Yeah. So, and I agree with that, beautiful, but somehow we are the ones also shaping how it visually looks. So we need to at least make some assumptions what will be perceived as nice. And many what is mentioned with the mobile experience is that this visual or micro interactions or animation experience, animations as an experience with the interface is what makes the mobile stand out. So the question is there a value in that, in making Grafana like push the boundaries of experiences of the visualizations in that direction as well? And beautiful along with easy to use is in our mission statement, so yeah, we are like ought to pursue that as well.
Lucas, we have some different things. So user get alerts in the Slack channels with all the beautiful images, graph, and everything. That's absolutely fine. But when they're trying to diagnose the quick glance in the mobile, first thing they want to see is a single stat, because the graphs won't appear good in mobile as of now, right? So there are two different things. For the quick first response is with the graph, and the immediate next is the single stat. The single stat, because one single graph might be splitted into 2 or 3 single stats, right? So what we did is every graph we are supposed to create a single stat. So duplicating some efforts to make it mobile friendly for our support teams. So that's how we operate in support teams usually. So our dashboard will be having some 10 to 20 graphs and 40 to 50 single stats corresponding to each graphs.
Okay, so yeah, so, just so I can understand it better. So you have like the dashboard with a lot of panels there, and then you create an additional panel that is an overview for that dashboard that is a single stat. So is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. We have graphs for detailed stuff and the single stats for quick overview from the mobile.
Mm-hmm. So how do you select what goes into the single stat if there are a lot of panels or a lot of types of graphs on the dashboard that will be like that someone will drill down into?
So we have all the graphs mapped into the single stat. So whenever there is a red in the single stat, user click that corresponding single stat to see what is happening as a trend, vice versa. But the other challenge we had is sometimes single stats might turn into red, but users want to know why this is red quickly, right? So they want to see the thresholds behind that. So that's why the editing experience comes in the mobile. Because at the midnight, we don't want to get scared because of 500 and 501, right? Single number difference, we don't want to deep dive. So we want to quickly analyze what's the threshold. So we want to see the editing in the mobile as well.
Mm-hmm. But editing of the dashboard or the panel?
Editing of the dashboard just to see what's the thresholds behind, what's the configuration behind a particular panel. Because no one interested to edit the dashboards in the mobile. That's not that much desired, right? That we may broke anything. So just as a viewer, we want to see what's the thresholds behind, what's the configuration behind, why it was red. That's it.
Okay, that's cool. And have you ever used or heard about using like Explore feature in mobile or during those incidents?
Well, out of this 800 developers in my team, only I see 10 or 20 people using Explore feature because they don't use Explore in the mobile. The support teams usually don't use the Explore feature at all. They just want to know it's a binary, whether it's good or not. That's it. we don't want to do deep dive in the mobile.
Okay. Thank you for that that insight. It is like really great to hear such a stories for us. So
Maybe
so yeah, that
if you
is
can allow me, I can show the one of the dashboard, so you will get some idea.
yeah. Of course, I will stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, you are able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this is one of the dashboard I want to show. So you can see it's full of single stats, right? So we really want to see what's behind this number. So if I edit this, see the edit button, the rest of the buttons going behind, these kind of experience the developers having. And each corresponding single stats, we have a graph at the bottom.
Okay.
So actually one of the requests from the users is they want to see all the red ones in the top and something like that. So that's one of the things you can consider.
100% yes. This is also important for alerting, and sorry for interrupting, but 100% yes. Sorting based on alert state will become more and more important.
Yes, correct.
And the dashboard that you have shown us, is this like dedicated to mobile, or is there something else for the desktop?
This is for the desktop as well, but the thing is, it will automatically stretch us into beautiful position in the desktop, so that doesn't matter.
Okay.
So what we did is we put all the single stats in the top and the graphs at the bottom, so that it will become mobile friendly.
So just to understand it better, so if I see that checkout orders are orange, what's the next step I will make in your?
So I want to see how it is trending, whether it's a spike or not, or something like that. We want to see the trend. I want to see the corresponding history and what's the threshold behind that. That's it. Sometimes we need some quick run books.
So that would mean entering the edit mode, as you mentioned before.
Yes.
Okay. That's really cool. And you don't have probably the E available for you here on mobile as well. So that's a shortcut hard to use for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Sharing my screen again. I don't know that there's much on the slides, but maybe they can open up some of the discussions. So yeah, so bar graphs probably not a good idea. Sorry, I just took the one that I had to like make a screenshot. Wasn't putting too much of an like a thought what's relevant there. Yeah, so that vertical spacing is also like really interesting use case. But I guess we need to like explore it further as well, because like, for example, the title bar here is like a state lost in that context. This is at least what I've been thinking when I was like just trying to find challenging questions for this discussion.
Would it be possible here to maybe have like a button which I click and then I maximize that series or whatever that graph is showing, and I tip again and it becomes smaller? Because most of what I'm seeing here on my mobile, I don't care. I care maybe as an overlay, but only as an overlay. Maybe I care about pen and test graph edit panel, like the subject. And the rest, I only care about the graph, and the rest is completely irrelevant.
And that's that's a good thing. And I was also like thinking about how much this part here could be thought as something that glues to the screen. So when you scroll, it just sticks to the top part, and then when you you get more space for all the stuff that you would like to explore here, but you can also like hide it and show it, or just close. So what's the architecture also for all the things that are happening on the screen as well? You had a thought?
If you make it so I can choose if it floats or so, that sounds useful. But if you default to it, and I need to change something, and I know what I'm doing, all of a sudden you took 30% or maybe 50% of my edit screen away, and that makes it even more horrible.
Yeah. So like the intention would be exactly what you said. So not to take that real estate when it is when somebody doesn't want that. And right now this graph actually is pretty useless, because when you just make it bigger, it's actually it looks like this. So it is just like so squished on the vertical scale that it looks like a straight line. So there is no information behind that graph at this moment whatsoever. So yeah.
Lucas, I have something. So when I was in edit mode, I accidentally dragged the editor to the bottom, but suddenly it disappeared. I don't know how to bring it back. So I have to clear the cookies, then only it came up. So those kind of challenges I had in this edit panel. So also what I feel is the edit panel should be floating on top of the graph instead of adjusting its graph size. So graph should be taking the entire screen, and the editor should be on top of that floating.
In such a view like this one here, so that's squished, or on mobile?
Yep, correct.
Okay, yeah.
Even in the desktop we had these issues, right? So when users doing all this adjusting the graph squeezes, so instead that should be constant size should be behind the editor. So that's what that should be ideal, I guess.
Yeah, the structure of all of that is like also an interesting topic, and it is somehow connected to this narrow viewports, but not necessarily the Grafana on mobile. Do you think there's a value behind like more animations or interactions with the graphs or panels that for what the native experience or mobile experience sometimes is better suited? Or do you think it's just like a flashy things that don't matter in the context of Grafana?
If you ask me, that doesn't matter, because users want to see only whether it's good or not. That's it. We don't want to see the animations, flashy things, because the users who are using the mobile will not be full-time mobile users, right? Only they will be checking Grafana whenever there's an incident, because that's not frequently used in the mobile. If you ask me, maybe it will be different for other users, but in my use case, it will be rare mobile uses. When the support team is commuting, something like that, they want to quickly check. That's it.
And outside of the incident use case, do you also use Grafana to show the dashboards for example, like C-level people or department directors or people who just require an overview? Also, do you like create dashboards for them or create reports for them? Is that something that that is relevant to you and your team?
Yes, we do have those kind of dashboards, KPI dashboards for C people, but I don't know whether they will be really liking that in the mobile view, because for the mobile they have some different experience they have separate dashboards created for them. So Grafana is not really for them in the mobile.
Okay, that's understandable. Okay, so I think we are like approaching 5 minutes till the end. So do you have any other questions or thoughts behind the discussions we had?
I have a thought, and a lot of it is based on front-end and usability, but it's also based on your idea of having something beautiful. And thinking on the mobile and narrow viewports is you get a lot of data, and it's very hard to fit everything in a very small screen, right? So I'm thinking, is there any way to reduce the number of points on the first view? So let's say on the x-axis, you get half of the normal points, but then have a button where you can show it in full glory, and you can zoom in or scroll around to have more details. So it will be good only to have an overview of what happened, and it will fit a bit better on your screen.
So like connecting the different or like narrowing the scope, for example, on the X or Y axis on the fly, let's say, when we see, that's a very tempting probably thing to do. The question is whether it means that we're actually interfering with how people design their panels and their dashboards, because at some point that the Grafana would have to make a decision on the fly what data to connect, to average, to transform on the fly to show less. So yeah, I think it's a bit of like ethical question even in terms of like displaying data.
Or we can let them choose. It can be show me the simplified view, and because it's my choice and I'm aware of what that means.
I had that crazy idea of something called scenes, let's say. So like this specific mobile view when you can take a dashboard and say that you want to see that on this like a really high level view that shows the simplification or exactly like that, like a simplification of that dashboard, or just a selected stat that that is really relevant, or a starting point for that dashboard, and that will be only available on the mobile. So like a glimpse and overview of what's happening in those dashboards that you can like then drill into. But I don't know how feasible, even like from the software perspective, it is, because like, a lot of decisions there. So. Anything else?
Lucas,
I just wanted to say, you go, Jerome.
Yeah, if you can allow me, I can show you the executive dashboard I was talking about. Maybe you will get some idea.
Of course.
I was seeing the screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the executive dashboard I was talking. So this will give you some interesting insights of what is the sales since midnight. So that's what the executives want to know, right? So some quick graphs, some quick numbers, some quick graphs. That's it. But the thing is, we have some challenges like these kind of things. They're too much small in mobiles. So these kind of challenges we have.
Yeah. It would be really great to hear from you when you, for example, try the 7.x version with the auto layout feature, how it helps with those setups. Does it make the panels better for you? So please feel free to reach to us if you need like some thoughts on that, or when you have a time to use 7.0, because hopefully 7.0 and an auto layout feature can help with some of those struggles for the
Sure.
too small things.
Sure.
And thank you for sharing the dashboards. It's like, I don't know how about everyone else, but I every time get excited to see how dashboards are created from our people, our users, customers, and clients using Grafana. So it's like a gold every time.
I agree, because we are all kind of inside of our Grafana Labs box, and the use cases out there, there's so many more that sometimes we can't even imagine, right? So every time we see something real, it's just really nice.
Yeah, that's true. And that being said, hopefully next time it will not be a Labor's Day, and we can see more dashboards as well. So just to end, next call is on October the 5th. So please feel free to join or tell others about the UX community calls, and that we are only having like a conversation and discussions around topics. So that should be like not very formal. And yeah, and thank you very much for taking that hour of your time, and see you next month. And
yeah, and thank you so much for sharing your dashboards with us.
Yeah,
that was a first,
Yeah,
and it
thank
was
you,
great.
Thank you.
and please follow the public document. There will be like a recording of that session, and you can also add your notes, additional questions, and please like reach to us as well on the Slack channel grafana.slack.com. So